Wow.
Let's go. Super glad to be here. First of all, shout out to Stable Summit, the only event that we as Scroll sponsor and support. Only one I think worth it, spicy take. But I really appreciate the organizers, and I think this is the place to be when anything you do stablecoin. But yeah, I'm super excited to talk today about our next arc as Scroll, and essentially, is that a clicker? Yeah, thanks. Essentially, like what we're gonna announce here is coming out of the gate a stablecoin that we're launching, the Neodollar called USX. That's funny. I ordered the slides, so this should come at the end. But like, I'm gonna go. So the Neodollar USX is the first spendable, private, and gasless Neodollar. Okay, what does Neodollar actually mean? We essentially looked at stablecoins. We're all, stablecoin users, and we thought, okay, if we build it from the ground up, looking at what stablecoins are meant to be or how they're used, they're essentially like a few use cases. It's to use it in payment or to generate yield. And I think in crypto, we tend to like make things incrementally better, and this is our effort to make it end-to-end good. So how can we make sure it's hyper secure? How do we make sure that it generates yield if you want to? How do you make sure if you as a user want to spend it, you're able to? And how can we optimize the UX to an extreme? And so if you look at a problem today with stablecoins, or not necessarily a problem, but like, the angles, is that, either you have a stablecoin that is used for yield bearing, either you have a stablecoin that's used for payment, and is your stablecoin integrated with, let's say, your favorite product or app, etc. And so essentially what we're aiming to do here is to solve for that all end to end. So it is gasless, it's going to have practical privacy on Scroll. It will be yield generating, where we believe it's a competitive yield rate, and you'll be able to spend it. So essentially, if you look at Scroll, we are in L2. How does this work? Well, we've been working on building our chain and improving our chain over the past 1.5 years. And so this is essentially us extending the power of our chain to bootstrap the next asset. So if you look at the first two core features, which is gasless and practical privacy, these come from our chain as an extension. If you then look at the third feature, which is spendable payment, this is because we have supported and have a phenomenal product on Scroll, the ETFI Cash product that's been taken off, which is in the payment course. And then the last is this asset, this stablecoin will have a dual yield strategy. It will have DeFi yield strategy, and it will have a market neutral strategy off-chain. So essentially what we do is we try to aim for a sweet spot and providing the best of both worlds. And the goal here really is to provide sustainable yield over a long term. That's on the risk-reward curve on a sweet spot. And so right now, the estimated yield 12%, on Scroll, zero gas fees. We will have USX will make use of Cloak, which is our privacy solution. Yesterday we announced that with ETFI Cash. You'll be able to spend it with ETFI Cash. It's fully collateralized and one-to-one redeemable. The steps will be very simple. You deposit USDC, you get USX, you can stake the USX and earn the yield. At the start, we will have an incentive campaign. I think that the main angle, which I often try to do, and unfortunately, it's I'm seeing not in the slide, but there's a last thing that I'm actually extremely excited about, which is yield-bearing stablecoins are difficult to scale. You'll hear 20%, 30%, 10%, whatever it is, but your strategy that works for $1 million doesn't work for $10 million, doesn't work for $100 million. And so what we've essentially done is this stablecoin later in the year, what we will have is a layer that is powered by ZK. Yes, fancy words. Essentially what that does is we will have attestations, whether it's for solvency, for whether it's for, like, let's say, the yield accrual, whether it's for any form of due diligence and transparency reporting, where we'll utilize ZK, which is our bread and butter as a ZK chain, to make sure we signal trust, i.e., when you look at TradFi strategies, exposing these strategies, or let's say the partners, usually gives away their edge. But how do you signal trust in the same way, making sure that what we've done is ensuring that the user funds are secure, ensuring that the yield accruals in a proper manner, that the due diligence is done, and we're going to utilize ZK for that. Again, that's our bread and butter. So we'll have attestation service, a layer where essentially users can come in, but we'll also be able to view, where we attest to all of these key metrics that whoever we do business with, or like where the yield comes from, etc., is secure, and we're able to communicate that. And then the next thing is that this layer, we're going to start out with a few partners, but we want to make sure that it becomes semi-permissionless. So it's not fully permissionless, but semi-permissionless, where it essentially means, like I said, your strategy for 1 million won't work for 10 million or for 100. So how do you scale that? Is that essentially we want to democratize the access to yield. Today, if you have like a good performing hedge fund or a private fund or whatever, you can usually come in at a 1, 5, 10, or 25 million. This is not accessible for retail. To most of them. So how do we make sure that you get access to that stable yield, that like proper trading firms at, let's say, a lower capital? We're going to use this layer where we will utilize ZK to essentially ensure that the due diligence and the transparency is done, but also allow different partners to plug in that comply by the high standards that we ensure. So pre-deposits will go live next week. So essentially, we will make sure that anyone who wants to come in early is able to do so. We have a no BS approach to this. So yes, there will be an incentive campaign. You'll be able to see it. It will go live next week. And essentially, this is the start of our next arc. We have Scroll has a governance token, and our next utility will be value accrual. And we are going to drive value to our community and contributors and to the SCR holders through products, through assets that we bootstrap, and through founders. So whatever shape or form value accrues in our ecosystem, we'll make sure it drives back, USX being the first one. So before I will just go back to emphasize this point to the first slide, which is essentially this. So today, when you look at ETHFI Cash, USX, we have Wi-Fi who's in the room, Honeypop, or founders. The way we bootstrap our ecosystem is essentially making sure that whatever we do, whether it's a product or as an asset or it's founders that we back, we ensure that this drives value back to the SCR holder and our community. And so the next arc, and this is the kickstart of it, is the first utility was governance. The second utility is going to be value accrual, which essentially means that we're going to be bootstrapping revenue streams and making sure that there's a reason for you to hold the token. So that's the end of my presentation. Evolution of money is here. Thank you.
Yeah.